and to gather the record together. This morning we're having a public hearing thanks to the graciousness of Councilwoman Sanchez and the City Council. They have allowed us to have our public hearing in this very august chamber. The way these things go is we're going to have a short presentation from a representative of the Water Department who is asking for the rate increase. And after she has completed her presentation about why the Water Department wants a rate increase, we're going to have a short presentation from Robert Ballinger, who is the public advocate appointed to represent the public. Here at the bench to my far left is Li Huang, and to my left, Sonny Popowski, and the chair of our board, Bernie Brunswasser, is here. We understand that council members may be coming in and going out. The other thing I want to mention is that we have a sign-up sheet, and do we have the person who has been taking the role? The thing is, I have 4 names here, but I know that there's another person who wanted to speak. So let me just say this. We have a list. We would be grateful if you want to speak, if you sign it, just so I know in what order to go in. We have to be out of here 10 of 10, 5 of 10. The council starts at 10, and we also have a hearing on technical matters in another building. But as it stands now, we're probably going to be okay if we have these 4 people. And if anybody else comes in or you see somebody who might want to speak, you might mention to them. Laura, could you, oh, she moved over there. It's Laura Copeland, and she can sign you in. If you don't appear on the list, I'm not going to call your name, but it's pretty easy to get on the list. All right. Is there anything else? We'll get going. All right. So what we first do is we give the department and then the public advocate a brief chance to explain their positions on this proposed rate increase. So I'll turn it over to Joanne Dalton.
Thank you, Nancy. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for attending this morning. Good morning, Councilman. The purpose of this morning's presentation, as Nancy mentioned, is just to give you a brief overview about the proposed rate increase by the Water Department. Want to give you a little bit of background. This is a new rate process for us in 2012. Citizens voted to create a new independent water, stormwater, sewer rate board. This independent rate-making body sets and regulates our rates. A part of this process, it's a very rigorous process. And also should mention this is the first time that this rate board has sat down to review a proposed rate increase by the Philadelphia Water Department. The rate increase is very much based on cost of service. The Water Department is a nonprofit. We're a city department. So the good news is we don't have to put any increases related to an investor-owned utility where we have to make a profit. It's all based on our cost of service. It's very fact-based. So when we propose a rate increase, we provide rigorous financial information, provide documentation, evidence as to why we need the rate increase, where those increases are necessary in parts of our operations and services. The process has a firm timeline. So we went through a public hearing process. We've had 5 public hearings to date. This is our 6th public hearing. We're in the beginning of a technical review process. So that's a much more formal process where people formally register to provide testimony, to provide evidence for or against our proposed rate process. That time period lasts about 120 days, so we should be wrapping up sometime in May. It really then goes to the hearing officer and the water rate board, who takes a look at all the evidence that has been provided, looks at the cost of service studies, looks at the public testimony, all the evidence that has been provided, and at the end, the rate board reviews that report that is provided by the hearing officer and decides whether or not the rate increase should be approved as provided or if it needs to be modified. The rate board, there's 5 members of the rate board. You were introduced to a number of them today. They are appointed by the mayor and approved by city council. But it's very important that we have the public engaged. So it's great to see that there are some public citizens here this morning. It's important for us to hear back from the public, and we want to make sure that the public understands what they are paying for and why we need increases. If people don't sort of value the water, sewer, and stormwater services, of course, people aren't going to be happy with seeing a proposed increase. So we welcome and we learn from hearing public comment and getting information from you all. Also, that becomes a part of the record. As I noted, that a part of the report, every time there is public comment, it could be by letter, by email, by testifying in a public setting, that information goes onto the record. So very important that you hear and that we be registering all that. There's a mailing address at the bottom of this slide. There's also a very robust website that the Water Rate Board has, all kinds of documentation, 5,000 pages of information. You can see public comment that exists today. So if you have a lot of time or really interested, it's really worth going through that. So what does the Philadelphia Water Department do? Just a brief overview on like what we call the urban water cycle. We're a drinking water, wastewater, and stormwater utility. We start at the rivers. We draw our drinking water supplies from the Delaware and the Schuylkill River. That is pumped up to one of our 3 water treatment facilities. Those plants then treat that water, make a top quality drinking water, send that through 3,000 miles of water main to customers' properties. Component of that, we are monitoring and regulating that water 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We want to ensure that it's top quality. After it is used by businesses and customers, it goes down the drain, goes through a sewer system about 3,700 miles long, goes to one of our 3 wastewater treatment facilities where that water is treated and is cleaned and sent back to the Delaware River in a quality that is cleaner than what we had taken it to provide safe drinking water. We also do stormwater. So the other component of the utility is drainage on streets. We maintain over 80,000 stormwater inlets. There's a stormwater piping system that goes along with that. This stormwater fee also includes programs and other projects that we have that are targeted to ensuring that our waterways, our creeks, our streams, our rivers are kept in pristine and good quality condition. You have to remember the rivers are our drinking water supplies. Along with all that infrastructure, we have to do a lot of rehabilitation and replacement. Every time you have a facility, you have mains, you have to upgrade and replace them. There's also a daily operations and maintenance component to all those facilities and to all that infrastructure. So why do we need a rate increase? And that's why we're here today. So the major factors. Number 1, we need to reinvest in an aging infrastructure. As every older city in the East and West Coast, we have, as I mentioned, over 6,000 miles of water main and sewer. That infrastructure needs to be replaced. We are looking to increase the amount of miles we do in our water main infrastructure system. We were currently doing about 22 miles. We're looking to boost that to ensure we have more reliability and more top quality service to our customers. There's also an increase in the amount of replacement and rehab you need to do with your facilities. 6 major facilities. We have many pumping stations, all sorts of ancillary components like valves and fire hydrants and that sort of thing that we have to keep in good condition. Environmental regulations, that is huge. We have a large $2.4 billion program called our Green City Clean Waters Program, which is under the Clean Water Act. That program is targeted to making sure that we reduce combined sewer overflows, but also that we, again, preserve and protect our waterways. Unfunded mandates, something that we don't disagree with, but it's something that's paid for all of our ratepayers. Changing water use and reduced consumption. One of the major factors is we did lose a wholesale customer this past year. It's good for us to have wholesale customers in addition to retail customers because that helps spread the cost of everything we do. We also have seen, over the past decade, a reduction in tap water use. More people are using bottled water. We feel that's unnecessary, but that's a personal choice. And the appliances are more efficient. And we also have seen, you have to remember that our infrastructure and our facilities were built to accommodate a population of over 2 million people, and that was back in the 1950s, but also high industrial usage. That usage has gone down, and you still have an infrastructure and facilities that are built in order to provide service to that large population and that large use. So you're still spreading those costs over a larger usage base. We also have a number of customer assistance programs, and I've got a few other slides that can go into this a little bit more. But very important programs to provide discounts to some customers and some grants to some customers. We recognize the value in ensuring that, to the best of our ability, water means affordable for everybody, and that everyone has access to that. And general inflation. So like any business, any residential customer, we have to deal with annual inflation rates. We see our utility costs going up. Chemicals, which are huge in the water treatment industry, something that we have to have. Chemical costs go up every year. And goods and services, like any business, we see an annual inflationary cost to the goods and services that we need to make sure that we maintain and operate on a regular basis. So aging infrastructure, again, that's sort of the major component of this. We are an older city. The average age of our water main infrastructure is about 70 years old. In fiscal year 15, we had over 900 water main breaks throughout the city, something that is hard to predict and something that is hard to, it's impossible to ensure that does not happen. Some of that is age-related, some of that is temperature-related, but it's certainly a trend that we don't want to see. We're not the worst in the country, actually one of the better in the country, but we're looking to make sure that we reduce that. The Association of Civil Engineers has provided a grade to utilities across the country, giving like a D+ to water main infrastructure nationally. We don't want to be there. We want to be, certainly we would like to be a B or an A+. We want to make sure that, though, that is affordable. So I mentioned we're looking to step up how many miles of water main replaced, from 22 to 28 miles. That is roughly a cost of $1.5 million a mile. So it's not a cheap proposition. I mean, it's expensive to do that, but we recognize that it's very necessary. Again, the environmental regulations. These are really important. We don't quibble with any of the requirements behind them. But again, they are not funded by anyone except our ratepayers. Under the Safe Drinking Water Act, we have a number of programs where we have to comply. But we're also on a daily basis monitoring and regulating over 100 contaminants to ensure that our drinking water is top quality. But there are always new, unregulated contaminants on the horizon that we have to sort of keep an eye on and make sure that we're ready to address. We're always do constant research so that we are ready to address that. Mentioned under the Clean Water Act, we do have that $2.4 billion program. So that program entails a lot of what we have seen, green stormwater infrastructure around the city. When you see rain gardens and tree trenches and green roofs, that's all part of the program that's being done publicly under our dollars and also privately. But there's also the components of upgrading our current treatment facilities so that we can manage and treat more stormwater runoff during rainstorms. We're also relining our interceptor sewers along Cobbs and Tacony Creek so we don't have any leakage into those systems. And the ultimate goal is really to reduce combined sewer overflows. We don't want sewage going into our creeks and our rivers when it's raining. I don't think anyone wants to see that. But this is a mandated requirement that we ensure that does not happen or eliminate that to the best of our ability. Assistance programs, very important. So we've always had a number of assistance programs. Senior citizens discounts for those who are eligible. We have discounts to charitable organizations, 501c3s. Water Revenue Bureau has grant programs for low-income customers. So many other programs. We have been working with Councilwoman Sanchez and Community Legal Services on an affordable rates program. That is a component of this current proposed rate increase. We agree it is a much better program that we have in place today. It's proactive. It helps ensure that customers do not have to become delinquent before they have access to assistance. So we're happy to see this program move forward, but there will be a cost impact to this program. So what people really want to know are the basics. How will the rate increase impact their water bills? So this proposed increase is 11.7% over the next 2 years, beginning our fiscal year 17, which is July 1, and finishing in fiscal year 18, which is July 1, 2017. So the first component of that rate increase, as proposed today, we see a 6.2% increase that would happen on July 1. That equates to about $4.20 increase on the average monthly bill, which would take you to $71.60. And this is for the typical residential customer who uses about 600 cubic feet of water. July 1, 2017, you'll see a 5.5% increase on that monthly bill, which is about $3.90. For eligible senior citizens, that increase amount will be the same in both those fiscal years, but because the 25% discount will be on those bills, and that's total bill, they would see a $3.10 increase in July 1, 2016, and a $3 increase on 2017 July 1. So altogether, a little over a $6 increase. We also always look to see what our peer utilities are doing regionally and also nationally. So when you look at us regionally, so this divides on the, for you, the left-hand chart is water rates, on the left-hand is sewer rates. We are sort of towards the lower end of the spectrum on the water side and on the lowest end of the spectrum on the sewer side. So again, we are not we are a city department. We are a nonprofit, so we don't have the pressure that investor-owned utilities like Aqua Pennsylvania, who I'll call out, who's our neighboring utility. Their rates are about twice ours. So, our mandate is always to keep our rates as low as possible, as affordable as possible. So even with that proposed increase, which is the little green bar on the top of that, you'll see that we are still at the lower end of that spectrum. Also nationally, we're not in the middle of the pack, we're more towards the lower end of that pack. All of these cities, and this is really a snapshot in time, this is representing cities who are seeing stormwater fees increasing. They have the same regulatory mandates that we have, so they're feeling the same pressures. Everyone is currently going through a proposed rate process, but we're still, at the lower end of that spectrum, and that's something we strive to do. We know that we have to balance the need to replace our infrastructure, the need to meet our environmental mandates, with the need to keep our rates affordable. So what would a typical residential bill pay for? So the $71.60 a month, about $25 of that is towards the water side of your bill. So it's everything we talked about. It's the treatment, it's the distribution through the mains, it's ensuring all the things to ensure that that drinking water is top quality. That is what that is paying for. The sewer side, a little over $18. That's the water goes down the drain, goes through a sewer system, goes to a wastewater treatment facility. You're paying for that components in that. The stormwater fee, again, pays for street management, pays for property runoff, pays for the programs, the environmental programs that ensure that our rivers are being protected because we're managing stormwater well. We're making sure the pollutants also are being removed from that stormwater. And the service charge relates to the billing and metering components of the utility. So what does a customer get from the Philadelphia Water Department? So in the end, when you look at the proposed rates, our customers will be paying $2.40 a day for all those services. So you're getting 150 gallons a day for $2.40 a day. That's less than, 1 gallon of water is less than a penny. So we see it as, certainly a really good investment. It's an investment that, sort of a life-sustaining utility. When you look at the bottom of the chart, you get 3 showers, 10 toilet flushes, 16 glasses of water, dishwasher load, so a lot. And we compare that to, $2.40 is what you can get, Starbucks, 1 cup of coffee a day. So a really good investment, we feel, for something that is essential. And that is it. So I think I hand this off to Rob.
Good morning. My name is Robert Ballinger. I'm an attorney with Community Legal Services of Philadelphia. We have been appointed as the public advocate to represent residential water customers and other small users in this case. I work in the energy unit with other attorneys, a few of whom are here today. If any members of the public have any questions, I think we'd be happy to try to field them after the hearing. But we are looking forward to hearing from as many of you as would like to speak with us today. I'd first like to thank the members of City Council and their staff who arranged for us to have this hearing here today. I'm pleased to be here in furtherance of our collective obligations to water customers and the larger public to obtain necessary input. This is a matter of significant public importance, and I think it's really appropriate that we hear from the public when we consider a matter such as this, and all of those who may have concerns about the proposed increase in their water bills. As Ms. Dahm mentioned, we're doing things a little bit differently this time around. We have a new rate-making body, the Philadelphia Water, Sewer, and Stormwater Rate Board. And they're going to hear everyone's perspectives, and they're going to make a decision ultimately whether, and if so, how much your bills should increase. This case is not about just a single 5 or 6% rate increase. This is actually a request for 2-stepped increases. So if approved, your bills would go up approximately 5.5% to 6% each of the next 2 Julys, starting July 2016, a very short period from now, and then going up again in July 2017. In total, the average customer's water bill will go up about $100 per year by the end of this rate period if the rate request is granted in full. This is a 12% increase from your bills right now. And I think from a lot of people's perspectives, One of the questions is always how much will your disposable income go up? Will it actually go up by 12% to accommodate that increase? So as public advocates, CLS is working with a team of experts to examine the assumptions underlying the Water Department's request here. We're also investigating the very, very important issue of affordability under a new program that City Council is mandating. This is a massive undertaking, both from the perspective of the technical analysis that is involved and the requirements to ensure that public input is adequately received. The filing alone was over 5,000 pages, consisted of very complicated financial projections requiring our examination with our experts, and it provoked a lot of questions. And we're in the process of going through technical hearings. As our hearing officer mentioned, we'll be doing that immediately after this hearing. Anecdotally, I spoke with a colleague just yesterday evening who was trying to assist a neighbor with a problem, a billing-related issue. And frankly, I was not surprised that he had not heard about the rate increase and the fact that we're having a hearing here today. I think it's very important that we make sure that all members of the public are aware of what's going on and have an opportunity to weigh in. Even though we're going at a very fast pace, I think that's our obligation. So while I would welcome comments here today, I want to remind anyone listening, if you are not able to make comments here today, you can provide comments in writing. There's an email address that's available for members of the public to write in. You can also write in by way of letter, and we can provide more information on how to do that after the hearing if someone would like to do that. But we're trying to get through something very significant in a very compressed period of time. This is a $105 million rate increase, and we're trying to get through it in 120 days. And that pace is much, much shorter than the pace that's required for other utilities in Pennsylvania like PECO and PGW. In this case, the rate increase should only be granted if the Water Department can meet the constitutionally based legal standard of just and reasonable rates. And there are several facets to that standard. Of course, we have to assess the reasonableness of the department's projections and whether it has substantiated its request for higher rates. But we also have to look at the other side. We have to look at customers' needs and what customers are being expected to pay based on their level of service. And that's really what this hearing is about, the latter, what customers need and what they have concerns about. So as I said before, I think we need to hear from as many members of the public as are available and desire to be heard, because that information is vital to all of us, the public advocate, the Water Department, and most importantly, the Water Rate Board. We need to hear from you. So with that, I really would like to turn it over and not take up any more of our precious time this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ballinger. Before we start with a list of members of the public, I noticed that there are a number of council people here today, and I would invite them, if they would like to make a statement at this point. Please, sir.
I don't know if I'm supposed to ask you some questions, but first of all, thank you for the hearing today. Thanks for coming for the hearing, and thanks to everybody in the audience for coming to the hearing. I had a couple questions I just wanted to ask. Right now, I think on the books, we have $150 million of delinquent water and sewer tax liens. Do we have a plan to collect that money?
What we're going to do with questions like that, because the board isn't in a position to answer them, is there is the Commissioner of Water here, Deborah McCarty, and members of her senior staff, and so I would invite them to come to these microphones so that they could be in a position to answer these questions. And if you'll just identify yourselves when you answer a question.
Good morning, I'm Michelle Bethel. I'm the Deputy Revenue Commissioner for Water Revenue.
What, do you have an answer to his question?
Yes, briefly. We're always looking to collect all the delinquencies that are on the books for water, sewer, and some of our plans that we have in place are During our collection agency, our municipal court, we send letters to let people know that we're getting ready to file a lien in municipal court. But a new initiative that was started recently was taking properties to sheriff's sale for water sewer only. And that has been a very lucrative endeavor, I think bringing in around $805,000. So we're looking to continue and expand on that for this fiscal and moving forward. But we agree with you in reference to being aggressive in trying to reduce our delinquency.
I just want to mention for the record that we have a similar issue with real estate taxes that are delinquent. And I think we're doing a feasibility study now on the delinquent taxes for real estate that could include the water and sewer liens and package them together to help you do that collection work. So I'll just give you one example. New York City had a similar problem in the 90s. They collected 85 to 90%. Today, using the method that we're looking at, they collect 99%. So there might be an opportunity for us to increase the collections and help you with the water and sewer liens.
Yes, we're looking into that, and I thank you for bringing that to our attention.
I have another question, maybe it's for you guys or not, but it's financial. In your financials, it says the pension obligations for 2014 to 2015 increased dramatically. Was there a reason why it went up like, I don't know, it was 400 million, some huge number?
Good morning, Melissa Labuda, Deputy Commissioner of Finance, Philadelphia Water Department. The Water Department is part of the city's pension plan. So as the city establishes its minimum municipal obligation, it impacts what our contribution would be to the pension fund. We're approximately 9%, and I might be a little bit high on that number, of the overall
Please
pension.
pull your mic up. I can't hear you.
The Water Department represents approximately 9% of the City of Philadelphia pension fund. So as the city's MMO payments increase, so will our proportionate share.
Offline, I'd like to talk to you about page 6 of your financials because the increase is dramatic from prior years. It's very dramatic.
I'd be happy to have a conversation with you.
Okay. And the last question. Because we're all talking about a potential of a tax on sugar drinks, okay, I view this as an opportunity for the water department. And my question is, have we ever done a study what the average family spends per year on drinks other than water? And how we could do a marketing program around that for not just the cost savings, but the health benefits. And especially we have 400,000 people in poverty. This could be an eye-opener to do that kind of marketing, to show them what they can save by drinking water instead of all these other drinks that cost money. It's just a comment.
Good morning, Deborah McCarty, Commissioner. We've not done a study, but we are always looking to get the good word out about water. We've just recently put 2 water kiosks on Kelly Drive just to promote not using bottled water, but using fresh tap water. And we're looking to expand that initiative citywide. Also, we work with the health department just to promote good drinking water. You know, that it's good to drink that as opposed to other things.
But when you think about it, the average family of 4 spends $5 a day on drinks and switches to water. 5 times 365 days in the year is like $1,800. So the savings is pretty dramatic.
Right. I mean, a gallon of tap water is less than a penny.
I'm just trying to increase our business and save money for people who need to save the money. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
On that question about the money we raise, I want to talk to you about a program.
Councilwoman, can you say your name for the record?
Thank you. I know better than that. Hi. Janie Blackwell. Thank you. But the issue, we need an agreement. If you're low income and you can't pay your taxes, you have an agreement, and you can make an agreement. You know, the law, if the authorities come and people don't have water, they're forced to leave their homes. Water is a common denominator. People live without gas. People live without electric. Water is it. If you don't have water, you're homeless. Then you need to go in a shelter. We need people to have an agreement, much as we do with taxes, so that they can stay in their homes. so that they don't have to enter shelter, so that they're not on the street. So where are we on that question? I believe that question's come up before.
Yes, Councilwoman Deborah McCarty again. Well, part of our request to the rate board is affordable rates, and it's income-based, and we're looking forward to, getting this program off the ground, really. I mean, we currently do have a Water Revenue Assistance Program, but we believe this program, we're calling IRAP, would be much more comprehensive and a much better program and provide the assistance that many of our needy customers desperately need.
And we also have a freeze for seniors. So we need programs for seniors. We need programs for low-income people. And I don't believe that we should benignly accept, or I don't believe we should have any water rate increase until programs are in place.
Well, we do have a senior discount. There is currently a senior citizen discount.
All right, so we have a senior citizen discount, but I believe totally until we have a program in place for low-income people that all our citizens can apply to if they're low income, I don't believe we should have a senior, I don't believe that we should have a rate increase until these programs are in place. And just while I'm here and saying it, I might as well get all my issues off. I don't believe that our public should have to pay for lead in the water either. Our water department says we're happy to make an agreement. Well, they didn't put the lead there. I don't believe public citizens, I don't think they should have to pay for lead. I will fight that if it comes up. We're talking about we'll work with you and try to help you make an agreement on your bill. I don't think it's fair. I don't believe we should victimize the citizens of our city. And the third issue is, I mention it all the time, I will continue to mention it. I talked to the mayor again about the water main break on North 52nd Street between Westminster and Wyalusing. He sent somebody, said it's still not straight, so he sent one of his people to my office. And so out of 42 cases, 34 are still not resolved. We have many people on 52nd Street from June 14th who still are, at least about 8 still have mold. People complain they're sick. They can't breathe because there's still mold we're talking June 14th. Now, I know the mayor's office is working on it, and risk management said 2 weeks, but he said 2 weeks when we had hearings. And when we had hearings, when we first came back in September. So I just think that I still find it unbelievable that people have to suffer in the city of Philadelphia, and we can't get their cases straight when the city's pipes broke in the middle of the street, and that was from June 14th to now. So they're my 3 issues. Don't think we should have a rate increase until there is some program for people who can't pay, not just seniors. I don't think that my issue, lead in the water, not lead paint, lead in the water that issue, I don't believe people should be victimized by that. I think that that's a city issue. And 3, I sure hope, there were about 78 people from the beginning who were affected by the water main break. And the list we had was 42 that aren't resolved, and we went through them. And a lot of ones were resolved. They list things like, we're going to make them an offer. We're waiting to hear from somebody, just ridiculous nonsense. So I just believe that, I hope that all of you will look at those issues and realize some of us are angry because we're elected to represent people, and people shouldn't be suffering. As soon as I heard water rate increase, I immediately dismissed it. And, people shouldn't have to pay another $100 a year for a Philadelphia Water Department that is not. It's not like when you were commissioner, I didn't have these issues. And, but people are not being serviced, and it's not fair. Thank you.
I'm sure that the department would love the opportunity to provide its side of all of that, but this is really an opportunity for the public to address the board, so you'll have to find another forum. And I see that Councilwoman Sanchez would also like to address.
Yes, thank you so very much for accommodating us and coming on a Thursday morning so that council could weigh in. By way of history, City Council established a rate board as an independent rate-making body by an ordinance in 2014 that was later approved by the voters into the city charter. And the reason we did that was that there was a concern about the water department, and in this case, just the leadership of the water department being able to establish rate proceedings. But there's some areas of concern that I have, and I think they're very important that we put them on the record. The Philadelphia Water Department established the Rate Stabilization Fund in 1993, to prevent and to kind of stabilize itself from rate increases, underutilization of water, projections, so forth and so on. And at that time, it established a goal, a target balance of $110 million. Today, that fund stands at $206 million. And that is of concern because previously, when the Water Department asked for a rate increase in 2013 and 15, at that point it said that it would draw down on the fund, and the fund would end up at somewhere about $74 million. So there's a lot of money in the rate stabilization fund that the Water Department right now could work with as it continues to develop more efficient ways of doing some of the critical infrastructure work that's being done. I think this administration, even more so than the previous administration, is really committed to ramping up that work and coordinating with PGW and others, because we all know that as we build out our infrastructure, it could impact neighborhoods and communities, and that we can find more efficiencies as we build that out. But more importantly, over the last few years, we've worked very well with the Water Department and water revenue as we have improved and legislatively approved a more improved IRAP program for customers. And the reason we did that is because we, along with our advocates, identified that only 20% of eligible customers had access to what was fundamentally what we felt was a broken system. We're working with that. With the support of the Water Department, we've hired national experts to come in and work on what is an affordable water rate that makes sense. Throughout all these discussions, I was very clear that a water affordability rate should not be factored into the increase of water rate, because really what we're talking about, and by your own numbers, when you look at the 300,000 liens, what we're really talking about is helping people become compliant. And so I think in the rate case presented by the administration, there's some fundamental disagreements that we have in the spirit of the work that we've been doing over the last few years. We believe that there is enough money in the rate stabilization fund for us to put together an affordable rate that is fair, that takes into consideration what some of us believe, that water should be a right, and the fact that it has become a business, and even in the business model that we would hurt poor people at a time when you look at all of the other ways that the city has, some of us would say nickel and dime poor people. If we appreciate the 57% home ownership rate in the city of Philadelphia, if we understand the deep poverty rates that exist in the city, if we understand that we want to protect and stabilize neighborhoods, the Water Department has to be a key partner in it. And any rate hike before, as Councilwoman Blackwell alluded to, we've put all of our systems in place to get people compliant, that when we look at lien sales and even sheriff sales, we are maintaining the goals of not going after homeowners, low-income homeowners. There's a lot of things that we need to do over the next couple of years, and a rate hike, before we even consider a rate hike having come out of another rate hike. So the reason we put a water board in place was because we wanted an open, transparent system, one that responded to the public, and I hope that this water rate board follows the tenements of that spirit, and not approve this until the department can come up with a plan about how it's going to protect all of the folks, with a plan, and even a revisiting of its plan around how it built out a stormwater management system. You know, this is all based on a 25-year plan. It's based on it doesn't, even the plan itself does not allow for efficiencies. It's sort of like whatever efficiencies you get in one place, you got to make it up in another. And I think that given Philadelphia's poverty rate, given all the challenges that we have, I really would like the department to give itself some time, and particularly this new administration and this mayor who's publicly very committed to protecting the poor working class and protecting that home ownership rate, the department to give itself more time to figure out, as opposed to continuing this rate hike increase because somebody else came up with it and it was projected that we were going to do it. I think this is one of those times when we put the pause button, we get some stuff done right, and then we come back to the table and say, what kind of rate hike can we do that makes sense, that ensures that our collection rate is better, and that we are being very deliberate in protecting low-income folks in the city of Philadelphia. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Sanchez. It's 9:15. I do see there are two more council people who have indicated an interest in speaking. So I think your light was on first, sir?
Yeah, that is correct. Councilman Al Taubenberger, and just really one brief moment to welcome everyone and to thank, and also to thank publicly Councilwoman Sanchez for her leadership on this issue. And I do thank the Commissioner for coming, and staff as well, and explaining the needs, and any people from the public. I hope you get an opportunity to speak, and certainly we're interested in what you have to say. I thank you all for having this here in this body at this time. Thank you.
Councilman Jones?
Good morning, and good morning, Commissioner and staff. I want to publicly say that also that even though we're here about rate increases, that whenever I've called you, you've been responsive to emergency need. I just need to have some clarification as a member of Council's Transportation and Public Utility Committee. A couple of things that we have 6,000 miles of infrastructure under our feet. Is that correct, according to your document?
Yes, a little over, actually, 3,700 miles of sewer and 3,200 miles of water mains.
And for that, the water loss every year, what percentage of breakage do we have every year, on average? When we had those water main breaks, those kinds of things. If I recall from your days, it was 23%. Is it still about 23%?
I'm not sure I'm understanding the question. You mean, so how many breaks per mile?
No, we lose about 23% of our fresh water to water main breaks every year. Is that still the average?
Off the top of my head, I'm not positive, but we do have, there are water losses in the system. The water losses result from water main breaks. It also leaks on customer services that's unmetered, things like that.
So the reason I raise this is there I saw your plan to do about 28 miles
yes.
of water main repair every year. And my question becomes, at that rate, at 6,000 miles, we would be about 60 years before we did the whole system. So my question becomes, how much does that 23% cost, if we aggressively took out a bond or did something to increase that percentage to reduce that amount of loss, could we substantially keep the water rates down, is my question.
Water loss. So it's actually about 3,200 miles of water mains. So we've just, our capital program is, we're increasing from about 22 miles a year to 28 miles replacement. And that's included in this rate request to expand our capital to do that. Part of that is to reduce the number of water main breaks that we have and the loss in our water, of course. And we do purchase bonds to fund that.
So by the time we go up for budget, I'd like your staff to consider, if you increase that, what would be the reduction in loss and therefore savings compounded? And not to mention that if we get more people working within that department, it's our own little stimulus package that we could do a pipeline of literally, play on words, from young people that are repairing those leaks. And so if you would do that kind of analysis, that would help me. And then my last question is...
I can tell you, we can provide that, but our water is actually very inexpensive. So I would tell you that likely the analysis would show that it's actually more expensive to replace the mains than it is to allow them to leak. That said, it's not responsible use of our infrastructure, and leaks do cause other problems. So, but we can provide that analysis for you.
Second part of that is, to what percentage of water do we provide for counties outside of Philadelphia?
Well, we currently only have one wholesale customer, and that wholesale customer, that helps actually keep our fixed costs down for our ratepayers within the city border.
And that's
Montgomery County.
Montgomery County?
The wholesale, good morning, Melissa Labuda, Philadelphia Water Department. Good morning, Councilman.
Good morning.
The wholesale contract is with Aqua Pennsylvania, and its total revenue to the department is about $3.7 million for fiscal year 15.
So is there a way to adjust or take a look at that percentage of affordable, clean, lovely water that we provide them, and maybe look at how we charge our outside of city customers in that kind of analysis as well? So as you look at...
Well, we're a cost of service utility, and actually their rates are going up come July 1st.
Yes.
And
I don't have any constituents in Montgomery County.
well, and they don't have the luxury of being able to go to the rate board. Their rates are going up.
Yeah.
So the other thing is, in your calculations, one of the big complaints I get, and I understand why, is lateral replacement to customers. Is there a senior on fixed income living in their house, all of a sudden the connection from the main to their house breaks? That is sometimes a $3,000 to $6,000 unanticipated expense. What plans do you have to take care of the least of and those in the fourth quarter of their life that are on fixed income for lateral replacement?
So one of our assistance programs that we do provide customers in unfortunate situations like that is a help loan. It's a zero interest loan. The property is liened, and we work with the customer. We assign a plumber and assist with getting them back in their water service as quickly as possible.
It is a loan, it is a lien, but I see that is some help. But if we can take a step further, that would be something that I would be interested in. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilman. It's about...
And then I won't, and then I'm finished.
Okay, we do need to turn to the public.
I know.
They come here to speak to
They
us.
appreciate what I'm saying. They know I'm
Okay.
speaking for them. That's, and two issues. I just learned that, I know it's quicker if people can pay online, but we just learned that if you want to raise this rate, the average monthly bill, by $4.20, the gentleman just told me you charge $3.95 to pay online. So if you're raising it by $4.20, and you got to pay $3.95 if you want to pay online, that doesn't seem to cut it in a positive way. Then you have to pay online plus pay the $3.95, so you get so that's a double hit there. And the last thing I want to ask is about the rate stabilization fund. How much is it, and how do you plan to use that?
So I can touch on this, but if you have more detailed questions, refer to Ms. Labuda. But basically, right now, we have about $206 million in the rate stabilization fund.
You have how much again?
$206 million. And we intend to draw that down. There was no rate increase for fiscal 16, so July 1st, 2015, we did not have a rate increase. To balance our books, we will be drawing that down this fiscal year, and the rate increase is actually lower than it would have been because we intend to draw down the funds over the next 2 fiscal years as well. So we're tapping into the rate stabilization fund to bring it down to the $110 million.
My sentiments exactly. You already have $206 million, yet if a person is behind in their bill, as they were in my water main break, we had to fight to get a man on who owed a bill for something like $288. You have $206 million that you haven't used, and yet you're asking for a rate increase. I would rather you needed it. At least it would seem fair considering it, but to have a $206 million surplus just doesn't cut it. Thank you. That's all I have to say so far, I think.
Thank you, Councilwoman. It appears that this is a time that we can turn to members of the public. I have a sign-in sheet here which has 5 names on it. If there are, I'm being indicated that there are other people who want to sign up. Laura Copeland, the lady in the back, has a sign-up sheet there, and so if you do want to speak, I would ask you to sign up with her. But I'll start with the people who I've already got on the list. Yeah.
Madam Chair, would you like us back there or here?
It'd be fine if you would stay, please.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's almost 9:30, so we're going to have to ask people to move it along. We'll start with Mr. Michael Lightbody. Right, and if you come up to the lectern. He's all right.
Good morning. My name is Michael Lightbody, and I live... Good morning. My name is Michael Lightbody, and I live at 5921 Arch Street, Philadelphia, with my wife. I applied for a RAP in February 2016.
Sir, you have to speak closer to the microphone.
I'm reading from this. Good morning. My name is Michael Lightbody, and I live at 5921 Arch Street, Philadelphia, with my wife. I applied for a RAP in February 2016, but was given a denial letter claiming that said I do not qualify because it seems as though I do not occupy the residence. The letter said, per our special investigation, you as the owner do not reside in the property. I do not understand why Water Revenue think this. It may be because I am getting renovations done on the first floor of my house, but I am still living there with my family. Our furniture, clothes are there. There is food in the refrigerator. Also, when I applied for RAP, I included documents that show I live there. I gave copies of my PGW bill, my wife's PICO bill, and our letter for Social Security benefits with our address on them. When I called water revenue, they would not help. They could have scheduled to have a representative come down to my house once more. At the very least, they could have told me how I can dispute the denial, but they never told me of this option, and denial letter did not include this option either. It only offered the option to request a standard payment agreement. When I asked about it, they said I would need to pay $3,000 up front, but I cannot afford such an amount. I heard that the dispute process and customer services was supposed to be improved after this last rate case. I do not see these improvements, so that is why I am here in front of the Water Rate Board today. Water revenue should not be able to brush off customers like myself who are trying to join the low-income program. Its representatives should not be giving attitude to its customers during office visit. So there should be no water increase until there is effective customer service and customers are provided with a fair process to dispute what we believe are mistaken decisions by water revenue. Thank you for listening to me today.
Thank you, Mr. Lightbody. Would you be so kind as to make a copy of your statement available to us? I see that you had a statement you were reading from, and it would be helpful for the record if we had your statement. Okay. Next, we have Lois Stewart.
Can I?
We're at the point where we're having public comment, and
The one thing I do want to share with this customer is he can appeal this, and we do have folks over here that can assist him.
what I would suggest is for situations like this, that the Water Department approach the customer to offer those services. I'm not sure that he heard it in this case. Thank you. Ms. Stewart.
Good morning. My name is Lois Stewart, and I live at 3322 West Allegheny Avenue.
Can you speak a little closer to the mic, unfortunately?
I am a senior on a small fixed income of Social Security and SSI. I used to pay $34 a month for water on the RAP payment plan, but in July 2015, Water Revenue sent me a letter saying my payment agreement was canceled because I did not respond to their request for a yearly evaluation. When I reapplied for RAP, Water Revenue sent me a letter in October 2015 approving me for a $66 a month plan, which is unaffordable for me. The letter did not explain how they arrived at the $66 a month. I talked on the phone with a water rep, and I questioned the increase of $66. I was told because my water usage went up. She explained my average water use was 294 gallons a day. I know that in the summer I was using more water to water the garden. However, $66 is much higher than any average bill for the 12 months before the October 2015 RAP decision setting my bill at $66 a month. A $66 a month RAP payment agreement does not make sense. I went down to the Water Revenue Bureau office twice to try to have my case or my issue settled, but both times I got no satisfaction. On one visit, I spoke with a Mr. Wilson, who said I probably had a leak, and he told me to troubleshoot a list of problems with a certified plumber. No leaks. I have requested to be taken off RAP since I believe my bill will be lower without the payment agreement. However, water revenue will not let me make regular payments without paying off a large back bill of $2,700 balance that they say I have. During this entire time, the water revenue representatives and RAP letters never informed me about my right to dispute the $66 RAP payment plan. I think I deserve an explanation for why I am being charged so much and a chance to dispute the RAP decision if I disagree with it. I heard that the dispute process was supposed to be improved after the last rate case. I do not see those improvements, so that is why I'm here today. There should be no water increase until water customers are treated properly and provided with a fair process to dispute what we believe are mistakes in our water bills. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Stewart. Again, it would be very useful if you could provide, I see you have, a written copy of your remarks. Mr. Falkowitz? And again, we have about 25 minutes left, or 20 minutes left for the entire process here, so if everybody could move along. I understand, Mr. Falkowitz, you have an extensive written document, which I've actually had an opportunity to read this morning, and so has Chairman Brunswasser. So I don't think it would be useful to just repeat all of that.
I agree very much.
Okay.
Okay, members of City Council, Commissioner McCarthy, Chairman Brunwasser, the other members of the Water Rate Board, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Bob Polkowski. I am a senior citizen, and I live in the Port Richmond section of Philadelphia. I take the position that the proposed rates are simply too high. What I've done is, this is over the past 6 years, I've kept a record of the increases in water charges and stormwater and service charges. And the percentage increase over those years has been 22.4%. Meanwhile, I do have an archdiocesan pension. I taught at North Catholic, but the pension never increases. I also have Social Security, and during the past 6 years, it increased by 8.5%. So there's a pretty big discrepancy between 8.5% and 22.4%. So I think that when the Water Department proposes rate increases, it has to consider people's budgets. Now, ideally, the rate increase would not be any higher than the rate of inflation. More realistically, instead of 5 or 6%, maybe 2 to 3% would be more appropriate. The second reason, which indicates why the rates are too high, deals with the deficit. In an Inquirer article from November of 2015, it said that the deficit was $259 million. Well, it seems to me that if the rates were lower, more people would pay their bills, and the deficit would not be so high, and our bills would not be so high. So there's the first part of this. I do think that the requested rates are too high. The second part of my statements deals with some reward programs that I think it would be a good idea to give people who conscientiously and faithfully pay their water bills. I do think it's a good thing to help the needy. I know that the Water Department contributed more than $22 million to the needy, and I think that's great. But I also think it would be a good idea to show appreciation to the people who faithfully pay their bills. One of my ideas is simply this. If I pay all my water bills in 2016, then come 2017, I get a 10% discount on my monthly bill. Now, it would just be a way of showing appreciation. I have another proposal that would only apply to people who do not receive any type of charitable discount, and it would simply be this. Every year, the Water Department would send me a statement indicating the percentage of my water bill that was used to pay for the discount programs, charitable discount programs. Of course, there's no money involved there. But then I could use that statement on my federal income tax. If I have itemized deductions greater than the standard deduction, I could use my charitable deduction for the water department, hopefully, to decrease my water bills. Now, the third part of my statement deals with the location of the public hearings. I did a zip code analysis of the location of the 5 previous meetings. Only one of them occurred in extreme northeast Philadelphia. The other 4 were basically west of Broad Street. Now, it just so happens that I live in Port Richmond, and what this means is the people in places like Tarsdale, Mayfair, Port Richmond, South Philly, Queens Village, all the people who live here did not have the kind of opportunity to present their views on these increases in an easy way. So I do think honestly, I do think the Water Rate Board should hold more meetings in the eastern section of Philadelphia. And I believe that would give greater validity and fairness to whatever decision the Water Board makes. Well, folks, I appreciate your attention, and I hope you all have a good day.
Thank you, Mr. Felkowski, and we do have your written statement, so that will be made part of the record. I have 2 more names here, but I'm not sure that that's all the names that have been signed up. Ms. Copeland, are there any more people besides those who signed up at the door? What? Okay, so I think we can do this. The next name that I have is Judith Sussolds. I'm sorry if I don't pronounce your names correctly. I didn't hear you. I can't hear you. Can someone repeat?
She wants to defer to later people, but I'm not sure she realizes she's the last person.
Did you get that? Okay. We have that on the record. Thank you, ma'am. And then I have Elizabeth Signal.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Okay. My name is Elizabeth Signal. I'm a resident of Philadelphia since 2004. And I was a public school teacher in Philadelphia for over 40 years. I am here today as a delegate of the Philadelphia Workers Benefit Council, the WBC, which was established 40 years ago in Philadelphia by low-income service workers and voluntary associations to provide a voice for low-income service workers and their families. We oppose the Philadelphia Water Department's 12% water rate hike, and we demand the following. The WBC demands the Water Department impose no water rate increase at this time. The WBC demands the Water Department impose a year-round moratorium on water shutoffs for any household at or below 300% of the federal poverty level. The WBC demands the Water Department reconnect any household at or below 300% of the federal poverty level, which has been disconnected. Establish a reasonable payment plan and charge no reconnection fees. The WBC demands the Water Department applies these same provisions for any household above 300% of the poverty level which has suffered financial hardship owing to ill health, job loss, foreclosure, or other economic hardships. The WBC demands the City of Philadelphia end any practice of seizure or foreclosure of residences as a means to force payment of arrears water bills. Last September, all 193 member nations of the United Nations General Assembly, including the United States, agreed unanimously to endorse the 2030 Substantial Development Goals. Goal 6, ensure availability and sustainability management of water and sanitation for all. In other words, almost every government on the planet endorses a right to water. And yet, in the wealthiest and most advanced industrial nation in the world, poor people are denied this most basic human necessity due to a barbaric practice of shutting off water service to those who are behind in their bills. Last fiscal year, PWD shut off 31,049 households. That is households, not individuals. So the number of affected individuals is much, much higher. The Philadelphia Workers Benefit Council denounces this situation, which we find to be totally unacceptable, and we demand an end to the shut-offs now. Community Legal Services estimates that PWD has nearly $300,000 million in assets between the Rate Stabilization Fund, Residual Fund, and something called the Equity in Treasurer's Account. There is no need to raise the rates. PWD has collected hundreds of millions of dollars beyond its cost of operation. Why do they continue to demand for more money from us, especially those who can least afford an increase? In the form of substantial rate increases? Could it be due to the demands of PWD's bondholders, those vultures of Wall Street who can exert, and I say exert, financial demands at will upon those entitled and the entities who borrow from them to maintain or upgrade infrastructure? We say the health and well-being of all Philadelphia's residents comes before the demands being made by Wall Street bondholders to PWD. That they pile up hundreds of millions of dollars of excess funds in order to guarantee Wall Street's profits. Stop waterboarding the ratepayers. We are drowning in bills. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Segnal. Again, I see that you're sharing your written comment with us. I don't have on my list any other members of the public who would ask for a chance to speak, but I do see that Councilman Johnson has his light on.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. I just wanted to just follow up, regarding one aspect to be taken in consideration, and I'll probably will reach out to the Water Department Commissioner regarding. Oh, you're here. Oh, how you doing? Hey, how are you? Doing pretty good. I just want to, just for the record, just state probably one of the things I want to pay attention to moving forward as we talk about rates, as we talk about making sure we're advocating and making sure we're doing everything possible to take care of our customers, is the issue of when the meters
don't do a proper reading, and the person is still receiving bills saying either they don't have to pay or the bill is at a discounted amount, and then all of a sudden the person gets a bill saying that they are supposed to pay a certain amount of money. And it's really, I don't think it's the customer's responsibility to make sure the battery is changed or the proper reading is taking place in terms of the actual meters. Because I think as a city, that's our responsibility. I don't expect the customer to be that savvy to go downstairs or check every so often regarding the reading. And so when we talk about rates and making sure we protect our constituents and also making sure we're doing the best things possible in terms of our customers, that's something I would like to explore moving forward, is our whole meter system as a whole, because it happened on several different times. And I think there was like a negotiation that came up where the person had to pay a certain amount and the city forgave a certain amount. But for me and the constituents that I was dealing with, I don't think it's their responsibility. I think that we should step up our efforts in making sure that the meters are working properly. When people are coming, when the water departments are coming out and doing the reading, like how can we do a better job at making sure the system is accurate? Can you elaborate on where we're at with it?
When there are issues with the water main, we do need to kind of get to the properties. Sometimes that's more challenging than other times, but you did speak about there is a program and assistance, so to speak, with our customers that are responsive and let us in when we're not getting good readings. And if it does result in a large bill, we work with them. There's also, they can get into a payment agreement, but there is, as you point out, there is some forgiveness on the water that they used because it is a shared responsibility, as you point out. And I'm always happy to, if there's specific accounts, we're always happy to work with you, sir.
Yes, and I guess for me, it's that shared responsibility part, because again, and this is similar to like when we had water main breaks, and the customer, our constituents are usually the ones who have to pay as a result of negligence, I would like to say, on behalf of the city of Philadelphia. So we could talk off the record to try to see, because there are some proposals that I am looking at regarding how do we upgrade our proper how do we upgrade our meter systems across the board. But I'll have more of a conversation with you before I move forward on it. But it has been something that we've been looking into over the past year because of the constituents who have been coming to our office and saying, my meter has been saying one thing, but I get a water bill saying something else, and I'm on a hook. And I even had my staff go down, I think the revenue department, to the court, basically to be the constituent support system to try to help them out. And so that's what I would like to follow up.
Okay, yeah, we're happy to work with you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Just two quick comments. There is new technology, you're probably aware, where you can electronically shut off water meters remotely. And we should be looking at that technology and making that investment if it's worthwhile. That's one.
We are.
Okay, good. Two is we mail out roughly 500,000 bills per month, water and sewer, and it's about $6 million a year we mail. And I've said this earlier or before in other meetings, but I think we should really look at a computerized system to cut down on the $3 or $4 million of postage, to cut down on the cost of the envelopes, and I think 75% of our people could pay electronically, and 25% probably still don't have access to internet. But for those 75%, it would be a better way to collect the money. And you can actually send a thank you note after they pay, and you can actually bill them on the 1st and send them an automatic notice on the 15th and make our collection system much more efficient. So I would like to see us take on that task of trying to go electronically, which everyone else is doing in this area.
And we are indeed looking at e-billing, sir.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilwoman Blackwell, did you have
Yes,
another statement?
Thank you. I've been given another question, but remember, Councilman Dom, if you're paying $420 more they're charging $3.95 to send it electronically. So that's another issue we need to, we're asking the water company to look at, in addition to the fact that I was told that somebody on the RAP program, where we senior citizen discount, we think, that money comes back from the discount on the next owner. So maybe somebody, could be a family member who didn't live there, so, new person buys the property. They're saying that discount is added back on to the homeowner. Is that true?
I'm Michelle Bethel, Deputy Revenue Commissioner. Water bills stay with the property, so if a new owner buys a property and there are still water bills associated with it, then that delinquency does pass on to the new owner, if I'm understanding your question.
I'm talking about the RAP program specifically. You applied for a discount, and they're telling me that discount is not a discount. It's delaying it and giving it to the next buyer, even if, maybe it's someone in that area who's low income too. But they're saying that bill comes right back on. So it's only a deferral if that is the deal. Is that true, that this RAP program and others, that comes back on?
That is true. There is a part of one of our assistance programs where the arrearages are deferred, and if that is not paid and the property changes hands, that delinquency does not go away. So that is a part of one of our programs. It is a deferral program where the customer is just paying their current bill and they're not paying their arrearages.
So this RAP program that you call a discount it's not truly a discount because it's still on the property. So if somebody sells their house to a person in their family, that bill is still there.
Councilwoman, there is a $500 city grant.
Okay, say that again.
I'm sorry, my voice isn't very good these days. There's a $500 city grant that customers can get, but the Water Revenue Assistance Program is not a discount. It's actually an assistance program for the customers to pay their bill. So it's a payment agreement. And so until the outstanding balance is paid, the property is liened, and the customer is responsible for the balance on the property. So if it changes hands, with another family member, as long as it's in their name, they can also get an assistance if they're low income as well.
And I'll bet
but
you.
As part of our, I'm sorry, I'm going to cut you off.
Right.
But what our request is the Affordable Rates Program, I think will address some of those issues of your concern regarding that.
All right. I get half of what you say, but as we all know, people don't want their property liened. I'll bet you they don't know that the majority of people don't know they're liening their property. Yes, so that's a good point. So poor people are always made to feel they're wrong because they're poor, and this just shows that the folks are getting their money. Water Department's getting theirs anyway. But I hope that the mood of things changes because.
Morning.
Melissa Labuda, Philadelphia Water Department.
How you doing, Melissa?
The latest increase, as Commissioner McCarty mentioned, was a 4-year increase. We generated about a 3-year increase with no rate increase in 16. We generated additional revenue of approximately $140 million. Some of it went to employee costs, approximately $31 million. Other money was spent towards critical items related to our consent order and agreement, and that would be in Class 200. That was approximately $21 million. Materials and equipment was approximately $3.5 million. debt service totaled nearly $9 million, and the remaining amount was deposited to the rate stabilization fund.
So the last rate increase was in 2013 or 2012? You said a 4-year hike or a 3-year hike?
It was a 3-year, I apologize, I misspoke earlier. It was a 3-year increase. We did not achieve a 4-year rate increase last time, which is why
So that would be 2013. I mean, yeah, 2013, just for the record.
correct.
Okay. And we raised $140 million. And so for the next 2-year rate increase, how much revenue, because I see it says $8 a month, and so I'm like, well, $8, so how much are we looking?
It's not 8.
So
If you look on the actual, your presentation, it says the proposed increase is 11.7% over a 2-year period beginning in July 1st, 2016, raising the typical residential bill to $8
Over
a
the
month.
2-year period, I'm sorry.
Over a 2-year period. How much revenue are you looking to generate over the next 2 years as a whole?
So holistically, if I sum the fiscal year 17 proposed rate increase and fiscal year 18 proposed rate increase, it totals $105 million.
$105 million?
Correct.
Does this rate increase strictly just for, and I get confused when I get my bills, because I get 2 bills. I get billed for like regular water I use in my home, and I get stormwater management bill. They're 2 different categories, correct?
On one bill, though.
On one bill.
Right.
There's 2 different categories, but I always view them as 2, because it's kind of like I'm getting charged for the water I use in my home, and then I'm also getting charged for stormwater management. But this same $105 million that we're looking to raise is going to go toward stormwater management as well?
That is part of it, yes.
It's part of it?
Yes, sir. So it's got to do with our consent order and agreement, regulatory.
You know what? I'm asking the question the wrong way.
Okay.
Is the rate increase going to come from just water usage or stormwater management as well?
So it's, there's, your bill actually
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think I get it.
Okay.
So the rates for the water,
Yes.
wastewater, and stormwater are going up. If I'm not mistaken, I think the stormwater is a couple pennies.
Right. Correct.
So you'll see your stormwater line item go up a couple cents.
And can you elaborate just a little bit more on the consent decree?
So we're obligated under the long-term control plan to reduce the volume of combined sewer overflows into our waterways. And so that's the 25-year plan. Most folks have heard of Green City, Clean Waters. It's the same thing, but it's a federal mandate, basically, implemented by the state or imposed, enforced, by the state to reduce our overflow. So that's better stormwater management, essentially.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Dom?
Yeah, one last comment. First of all, I thought this report was very good, whoever produced it, very helpful and insightful. Just a comment that was echoed yesterday by President Clark and Councilwoman Sanchez and many of my colleagues. When you're doing a chart to compare the water numbers, if we could see in the future, we're one of the poorest cities in the country. If we could see other cities like Philadelphia, not so much the suburbs, how we compare it to the top 10 or 20 poorest cities in the country and what the rates are. So it would be a better gauge for us than Cherry Hill.
Understood. One of the challenges is comparing apples to apples. Not all cities bill, for instance, stormwater the way we bill stormwater. A lot of times it's in the taxes. So trying to find peer utilities that bill the way we do. But your point is well taken.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'd like to close the hearing, I'd like to turn the mic over to our chair, Chairman Brunswasser.
Thank you, Nancy. I just want to take an opportunity to thank City Council for allowing us this time in their chambers. I'm very familiar with the other table, but not so much with this one. Anyway, I want to thank you all for all the council persons who attended and for your interest, and I want to thank all the witnesses that came forward today, and thank the Water Department and the Public Advocate for attending as well.
We'll go off the record. Well,